At the center of the universe, at the border between the light and the dark, stands Castle Grayskull. For countless ages, the heroes of Grayskull have defended the universe against the forces of evil. Walk through the Hall of Living Pictures and learn the history and mystery of the Masters of the Universe. Dive deep into the mythology of Eternia, Etheria, and more. For those who know the stories of Grayskull will come the power. The power to be supreme. The power to be all-knowing. The power to be Legends of Grayskull.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 39 of Legends of Grayskull, the fan podcast where we discuss the history, the mystery, the magic, and mythology of He-Man, She-Ra, Eternia, Etheria, Nordor, Primus, New Adventures, Old Adventures, Ladybird, Filmation, Golden, comics, mini-comics, anything and everything you can think of with that He-Man, She-Ra, Masters of the Universe, Princess of Power, that Mattel logo down in the corner. I'm Matthew Duch. I'm here with Shawn Scavarna. Shawn, how are we doing tonight?
I feel weird. I'm all displaced tonight, but other than that, I'm pretty darn good. So
it's good to have
you. Yeah, it's good to be here as always. How are you?
Doing great. Had a good weekend. I want to give a special shout out to my boys' Pop Warner football team. They had their first scrimmage game this weekend, and they looked awesome. A couple good days of practice here, and we got our first regular season game coming up this weekend. So. Laporte Pop Warner 6U. Here we go, guys. We're on a roll.
They're starting with some power. They're gaining momentum.
Absolutely. How about you? Got anything new to share?
Oh, this is my new bedroom/studio at my house, so I'm pretty excited about that. The background is blurred because I still haven't situated everything properly. And there will be some fun stuff behind me at some point. I'm going to have a drawing table behind me, and that will be able to work as well here. But for the time being, I'm just happy that this is my little cozy area of the house, because that hasn't happened to me since I bought the house.
So you know
kids overrule the place all the time. So
you know what this means, Legends of Grayskull fans. We are getting a step closer to getting Shawn to draw live on air for us. So.
Oh yeah, we'll see about that. I'm always scared to death of that, man. I get like stage fright like crazy because I've done them. I've done them on Facebook, and I've actually had people reach out to me after I do them, like, "Hey, can you draw this? Can you draw that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cool, whatever." But doing them where I can't read what people are saying because I have the camera over my shoulder. Yeah. Is so scary to me because I'm like, I hope people aren't asking me questions or talking to me, and here I am talking to myself while I draw. It's really weird.
We'll do it together. We'll do it here in Legends of Grayskull. We'll go live on our YouTube page, and then I can watch the comments, and you can draw, and I can read them to you.
Well, oh, it'll be interesting. I'll say.
I got plans here, buddy. Just ask me. I'll have an answer for everything.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. You're the brains behind the operation. I just show up and try to look pretty, and Lord knows I'm a losing battle on that one too. So there you go.
You accomplished that. I like this GQ look you got here. Got this little Backstreet Boy lean going on for all you audio listeners. Shawn's pimping tonight.
That's my confidence of, hey, I actually have my own little place. So yeah, that's my confidence. And plus, there's a little ledge right here on my desk, and I can just like in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Hey. I love that part. He's like, hey, he's trying to figure out how to say that. But that's a whole different thing. We're not going to go Spider-Man on us tonight, but yeah.
We still got to do that one of these days. We got to do our random offshoot podcast. We've been talking about that for a while now, guys. Like, we just do a podcast episode where we just talk random whateverness, you know.
Other loves other than He-Man, because there are other things out there, but He-Man is quite the first love. Right. You never get over your first love, but
it is the name on the door. So I mean, we gotta
exactly. You gotta honor that, but at the same time, it would be really fun someday to go. Okay, let's talk some Ninja Turtles. Let's talk some Superman. Let's talk some Spider-Man. Whatever, But we'll get to that point someday. But we got a ton of stuff before us. So, I mean, heck, Filmation in general is overwhelming to even imagine.
Even ignoring the stinker episodes, you still have a solid 100 at least that I could definitely see well worth the time. And probably higher than that, honestly, because I don't think there's 30 episodes total where I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk about that,
Yeah, I mean, even what I love is not getting into the episode too far, but what I love is I'm fueling how we're doing this week, which is like, I love how you're like, I was listening to the show, and you made me think of an idea because you said it, and I'm like, what did I do now?
I guess we can just get. I mean, I don't think there's any real news out there. I don't have anything.
I was trying to think of it like when you told me we were about to record, and I'm like, I don't think I saw too much. I mean,
quiet.
Yeah, we talked to James Etok releasing last Friday the page. What was it? Page 3. But that's the only big, or page 4. Sorry, so that's the only big.
Yeah, 4, and then 5 and 6 are coming this Friday. So.
And then I know what day it is again. That's good. Right. That's very good. Thank you, James. Yeah. But beyond that, I don't think there's anything. This is the first week in a while where we haven't really had much. No. So that's really weird.
They spent everything at PowerCon, and now they're just sitting home, It's what used to happen like every year, even before PowerCon with San Diego Comic-Con during the Classics. It's like, you get so much information, and then there's just nothing. Yeah. They've got They've shot their entire budget, we'll say, and I know I walked into that one without a good censored version. So they shot their whole budget at PowerCon, and now they got no money left till hopefully next month. So, and hopefully we'll start seeing stuff. So we might as well go right into it. So today we're discussing the Filmation episode, A Tale of Two Cities. Mm-hmm. And basically what happened was I was going back through and listening to our last episode where we discussed the DC ongoing series. And I hit the point, and it didn't really click it with me while we were recording, or I would have called Shawn on it then. But Shawn said that he hates the amnesia episodes. And so that got me thinking, because Filmation notably has 2 very prominent amnesia episodes. Quest for He-Man, which features Plundor and Gleedle and the Susian world of Trannis. But Shawn was like, nah, we're not doing that. Honestly, I said I'm not putting him through that this early. But I said, well, how about we do Tale of Two Cities then? Because I'm curious if it's like all amnesia stories. Because Tale of Two Cities, it was famously one of the wave of mini comics that was adapted from the Filmation episodes, along with the Dragon's Gift. It's a season 1 episode, and it's generally pretty well liked amongst the fandom. So, Shawn, what just your initial reaction to A Tale of Two Cities before we dig into
it? Initial reaction to it is it's one that when we started talking about it on just back and forth today, you remember, I actually remembered how that story went because it stuck with me all these years. And this is one that I don't go back to typically too often, but I do remember. What was the mini comic that had that one in? I don't remember that. I do remember I felt like it was somewhere else too.
It was It was the one with Lodar, Slave City.
Okay.
And
See that
instead of Reyna and Queen Balina. Instead of Queen Balina and Draka, it had Lodar as the antagonist. But it still had the Gargons, and it was the same basic thing, except for Garn was a Native American in the mini comic, and he was African American in the show.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it was more adaptized than the Dragon's Gift was. It wasn't as straight in the mini comic. There was no amnesia there, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. Okay. But rewatching it just a little while ago, I actually can see why it is a fan favorite episode, and I remember it quite well. And here's the thing: like with amnesia episodes, my biggest issue is I hate it when they constantly have the character dwelling, who is the amnesiac, dwelling on, this seems so familiar, but I just can't place what it is. And as a viewer, you're the one sitting there going, I know why. Can we move on from this? I know. Yeah. And in the case of this episode, it didn't write that way. And I love that fact. I love that it's like, yes, he doesn't remember everything, but he doesn't also have that feeling of he doesn't know everything.
Right.
There's certain things that are characteristic of He-Man that I feel they didn't lose track of, and they didn't try to make it that he is so much of an amnesiac that he isn't capable in this. And that held up way better than some of these other amnesia anythings that I have seen one way or the other. Because there's always that, I want to say it's like a Wizard of Oz kind of a thing. Where it's got that, oh, it's always been you all the time, or that kind of a thing at the end. And I hate that kind of a turn in a story, because I kind of go, I know that's going to happen at some point. And the way they did it, even in this episode, it worked to its benefit. And everything from that point on, I love that, it was a stronger episode because of the turn where he finally goes, I remember who I am now and everything. So, I love it way more than the typical ones. I can't say I hate them all now, and that annoys me because I like being very. That's like that last episode.
And I thought I could get him on this too, folks. I thought if I can get him to sit down and watch Tale of Two Cities, if he doesn't remember it, I think I can get him here. No, it's one that
I'm that guy.
I remember as a kid. It was on VHS, thank God. And it's always stuck with me. I've always liked this one. It's got great character design. He-Man and Battle-Cat are the only familiar faces in the whole thing. And like you said, at no point during it did he not feel like He-Man. Like he did. Even when he couldn't remember who he was, there was still that inherent good. He's like, I know this is wrong. I have no idea why it's wrong, but I know it is. Like, I am not going to help you here. So, real quick here before we jump into it. So, we got Tale of Two Cities. This is the 31st episode of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It was written by Richard Pardee, directed by Marsh Lamore, and the script was approved April 4th, 1983, almost exactly 2 years before my birthday. So, let's go ahead and jump on over here. Alright guys, here we go. So, for those of you watching us on YouTube, you're going to be able to watch it right over here. For those of you listening along at home, feel free to just listen along, or pop in your DVD, pull it up on YouTube, follow along with us. It's going to be a good time. So, we'll do the typical 3, 2, 1, and then we hit play. 3, 2, 1. Bing!
Every time. Here it comes. I was thinking about it the other day, and I I remember when I first came home from kindergarten and got to see this, and how it was so weird to all of a sudden see He-Man's name be the first thing on the screen versus just having it being Masters of the Universe.
Right.
I don't know why. It always was weird when I was a kid, though.
Yeah, see, I never questioned it, but then again, I'm younger, so I mean, the TV show stuck with me before everything else, so.
Yeah. I think for me, I just kind of figured it was just going to be Masters of the Universe based on the toy line, and then when I saw He-Man, I was like, well, why is he getting top billing? I mean, it's all of them, isn't it? You know, it's like, oh boy, was I wrong.
I guess that's it, because I always thought that the packaging was weird, especially with, like I said, getting the majority of my figures secondhand and everything. The few times I would get the book, or the books mainly, I'm like, that's weird. It looks weird with just Masters of the Universe. Like, why doesn't it say He-Man up top? So, because Filmation was always my first love. I always liked how this one started off too. This creepy forest and everything. They really set a mood right in the beginning here.
Sure.
And then the Princess Rhea fleeing from the Gargons. Those are cool designs, though. These things freaked me out as a kid. And we're not wasting any time here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wish I kind of counted down how soon it took him to raise the power sword here, because it really... I want to say this is 30 seconds into the episode, maybe a minute tops, you know? Like...
It was about half a parsec, so... Yeah, I mean, we're getting right to it.
Did they kind of use these guys from the Black... Were they Black Star guys that they converted?
I have never actually seen Black Star, so I cannot answer that.
When I was a kid, like, I used to watch Black Star. I don't remember Black Star as well. Like, I actually watched the intro to it a couple years ago, going like, I vaguely remember this. Yeah. Like, compared to He-Man and everything else that came after that, but I remember there being a guy that looked a lot like these guys in the toy line. He had the like face just like them, but his coloring was a little different. He had more of a flesh tone than the grayness that they have here and stuff. But because I know they reused the dragon that he had on that show, so maybe there is something to this. I don't know.
There might be. It's not mentioned here in the Filmation guide, so.
And that would be where it makes the most sense.
I think he would have it in there if it was.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
But it could definitely be something similar. And I don't know about you, but as a kid, Rhea was hot. I mean, she's kind of a Tila knockoff, but there's something about those thigh-high boots and everything. It's like, oh yeah.
Like I said, I don't remember this one as well, but I'd have to actually look at all of the women that have been on He-Man to go, which is the one that got me one way or another, because
there's probably between her and Celeste for me.
And see, I hear the name Celeste so often when I hear Jeremy DeWitt talk nowadays that it's just a given that, you know, I'm always remembering Celeste, but there's something. I feel like there's somebody on He-Man that they were one where I'm like, ooh, and I, for the life of me, don't remember who that is right now.
I love this animation here. That storm coming on quick and the river swelling up there.
Yeah.
It's just such great animation. And the whole thing there with Targa and, I forget Rhea's city's name, but just their whole thing, the two cities and Targa being right underneath that huge lake and everything. It's a really neat area they set up here, well away from the Eternals Palace, and that that's refreshing. Even as a kid, it was refreshing.
Yeah, something I was going to say for the end of us talking about this, but I'll say it now. When I read the mini comics as a kid, I always got this sense of he's a wandering adventurer more than he was stationed any one place in particular in Eternia. And this episode gave that in spades compared to what we're typically used to, and I love that because
absolutely.
It's like it doesn't matter where on Eternia, if you need help, he's going to show up and do something about it to make sure you're okay, and it makes me appreciate his goodness even more on this episode than the typical ones.
This shot here with the Gargons, this is what freaked me out as a kid. With them coming up out of the shadows and the lightning flashing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing they do is take his sword. Smart guys. They're actually smart villains. So, like, let's disarm him first.
Yes, that is a wise move. I do appreciate that. It's like when I watched it just a little while ago and they did that shot, I was like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah, that's when you know it's in trouble. You know.
Yeah.
John Irwin plays this really well too.
Yeah, that's part of, and you're gonna end up getting me for it on the other episode, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But something about the amnesia part of this episode made me like this more because this is an area we've never discovered. So through He-Man having the amnesia and him asking questions, we're being able to understand what's happening here and learn as he's asking questions in this case. And I love that about it compared to just, here's all like that. I think that's the amnesia story I hate is here's the situation of the main character has amnesia, but everything around him is not changed.
Right.
So you as the audience is like, oh my God, it's Sorceress. Can we just say it's Sorceress and move on, or whatever?
Well, and that's it. They don't use it as a crutch. It's just It's how do you depower He-Man without actually depowering him? It's just used as because he's not sure what he's capable of because he doesn't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then I like that there are certain things innate to him where, they're saying, you must be a spy. I'm not a spy. Like, it's automatic.
And right here, like, he's not bowing to her. He doesn't care. He's like, I know you're not my queen,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who is, but I know you're not.
Mm-hmm.
I love that line. You are either a very brave warrior or a fool.
Yeah. This queen made me think of Grace Jones and Conan the Destroyer quite a lot watching this.
Absolutely. Draka, the Weasley little wizard there. Very powerful, but he relies completely on his skill, his magical skills.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to give it credit where credit's due. This episode really does a great job for the amount of new characters you're getting in this episode. Everybody other than He-Man and Battle Cat is new here, and I like that they all have this feeling like they might be one and done characters, but they're making them feel like they're their own people. It's not like here's a carbon copy somebody else that they're just using to stand in here or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the character design in this episode is pretty top notch in my opinion too. And that shot of Battle Cat.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, really feel for it. It's like he's powerful, but even he can't jump that high. Or claw that straight up. There's nothing to grab onto.
And that's one of those. Anytime that you see a kidnapping in something, and there's somebody who could have done something about it, but they're incapacitated like he is. It's like, man, you feel for poor Battle Cat there.
No, these are all formidable villains here. I mean, Draka's powerful. The Gargons are competent. And we missed it earlier, but Garn, like, he's like, all I have to live for is the arena. And E-Man earlier with the, you're chained up, what are you going to do? He's like, dude, I can break out any time, but, but then I won't be free. This is the only way to really be free, is to fight through the arena, and eventually they'll allow me to go free, and I won't have to worry about it again. So he's committed to it. So even he's got his honor, he's not just going to run away.
Yeah.
It's all luck. And I like that they use the grappling and like the wrestling here rather than, because we know Filmation couldn't have gone full on gladiator, axes and stuff. So I'm glad they went with more of the wrestling thing. That way they could still do some stuff, but not make it seem like they were pulling punches, Well,
I like how in Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee had that line where he said, My fighting is the art of fighting without fighting. And that's kind of how He-Man starts this, but then it gets to a point, the grappling has to happen. But I do like that it kind of shows I don't have any issues with you. We're not I'm not trying to hurt you. I don't I'm not even worried about winning here. I'd rather just leave, and everything in the way that he does this sequence really shows what he's about here, and I like that quite a lot too.
Exactly. And even now, he got his memory back from the bump, and that's also the other thing. They didn't dwell on the memory loss thing. It's like it was just long enough for him to learn some stuff naively.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got it back, and as soon as he remembers, he basically just disarms Garn until they call the match. And now he's trying to stick up for Garn, like I'm going free, and I'm taking Garn with me. And go ahead, I know what you want to talk about because I do too.
Well, I like that when he said about He-Man doesn't control your fate, or he does. He-Man has no interest in ruining you or whatever. And then I like that Garn goes, He-Man, but I thought you were a legend.
I love that. I love that throughout this. I love the idea that there's remote corners of Eternia that don't have much direct communication. And they hear stories from passerbys about this He-Man, but they write it off. Like, no one can, reverse a tornado and spin glass out of sand and ride a giant tiger. Like, no, that's too much. You're making this up, And it really adds to the mystique of He-Man that, and it gives you a feeling of the bigger world. Like, he can't be everywhere at once, and there's this bad stuff happening around Eternia that even he can't get to. But luckily he made it out this far this day. Yep. And even a good plan by the villains. They're like, well, we got the princess, so get him out of here and, we win.
Yeah. And Garn's somebody that I wish they would have had another episode or two with him showing up to help out, because it really is cool to see you got this powerful warrior gladiator character in this guy, and he is once and done as far as I know, at least. And it's like I kind of like their back and forth, because it's not like they're exactly evenly matched, but he's definitely
they're pretty close.
They're close, and I kind of dig that. I like the idea that there would be somebody else that if He-Man was in over his head, like Garn would be somebody he'd be like, Battle Cat, get Garn, and he comes in to give him a hand here and there and stuff too. I don't think that ruins He-Man at all.
No, not at all.
Having somebody have his back on his power level like that.
No, I could see. I put him up there like with Clamp Champ. Like he's one of those guys that's like just below He-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he was just in Tale of Two Cities. I could have sworn he came back at some point.
So that's how effective this episode was, because I remember him so easily.
Oh yes.
Even before watching it today, and like I said, this story I remember. All of this. I like him better than Lodar. I'll say it right now, because I didn't care when they released Lodar. For me, that was like, they finally released them, but...
all this here is better. Draka and Queen Balina and this Garn, this is so much better. And it's a deeper story, too,
Agreed.
It does say Garn's character model... appeared as a blacksmith in the episode One for All, so that's probably what I'm thinking of. Again. I love it. They all just show up. Just what you gonna do to all three of us? In
other words, you're
in trouble.
There's something to be said about the fact that Battle Cat walks up. He's like, "Yeah, he fell into your trap," and it's just like,
he wants some payback.
Yeah, payback. Payback is due. I like this too.
Yeah, no, it's a great lesson, and I remember this exchange from a kid. It's He-Man's like, yeah, we're here to stop them, but we're not just gonna let the city be flooded and all these people drown. That's not our place.
Well, that's the differentiation to me of like even Superman and Batman.
Yeah.
Like like Batman, yes, he works with the law.
Yeah.
But he also tends to have his own version of what he wants to get done in order to get the law involved. Right. Whereas Superman, that's how He-Man would be. It's like it's not up to me to tell them. I'm not here to be the Punisher to these people. I'm here. Yeah, they're wrong, but they also need help right now first.
Yeah. And I like that even He-Man can't do this alone. He's like, Garn, I need you. This is such a strong feat. And that Garn's right there with him. He's, they're cracking a hole in the ground. And like you said, Garn's keeping up with He-Man.
Yep.
Even the character guy, he's drawn, a foot taller than He-Man. He's so imposing.
Yeah, I like that. And also a Spider-Man moment there.
No, that's great strength. Great strength comes with great responsibility.
And then
completely different.
Going, Excelsior!
Don't sue us, Marvel. It's completely different.
Nah, that's He-Man flat out doing the whole. Mm-hmm. Don't try to change me, baby. The oh, will you be back? One day we'll be back. Someday. It's got that. Yeah, it was a summer
I ain't
thing.
coming
Maybe.
back. Let's not try to make this any more than it was.
I rescued you.
And
you rescued me.
Dude, it's such the cowboy ending, the Lone Ranger, he's like, all right, y'all are safe, take care, and he rides off, into the sunset. And that's it. It's just, it's I forgot about that. I forgot that the moral was about reading books.
Yeah, quite apropos.
Well, it's funny that they went with reading books when you had, like I said, you had the great strength comes great responsibility. That it's not for you to decide. There's just if this is pure Filmation right here, and this is the good Filmation. This is where they packed it full of lessons. They packed it full of morals, and you don't feel like it's like beating you on the head. It's just, here it is. This is what happens in a day in the life of, And that's what I love about this episode. It's like you don't get the wrap up at the palace or anything like that, and it doesn't need it. It's framed so well. It's the cowboy story. It's Adam and Cringer wandering, see a damsel in distress, and the domino effect of just trying to help her. They set things right. They overturn, an evil ruler. And then they ride off into the sunset, and that's, on to our next adventure, Battle Cat. It's done so well. So well.
Yeah, I was subtly and not so subtly surprised how much I was enjoying this earlier, and it kind of throws my amnesia lack of interest into it just throws it out the window in some ways. But the way it's used in here, we already made that point, but the way it's used in there is it's a great way to at least fuel, this is what the story is about. He doesn't even know the deal with these places. Like when he got to those places, he didn't know, and she was filling him in on that stuff. So it made it even more like, okay, well, we're in a whole different land than we're used to. And now we get to find out through him having the amnesia that this is what the deal is. And I like that. And like you said, the amnesia only lasted maybe 5 minutes tops of the entire episode. So that's the other reason I'm okay with it, because it didn't take forever for him. It wasn't like Orko's there going, remember who you are, or something like that. Because I don't like that stuff. But in the case of this one, it did what it needed to do, and then it said, okay, let's ditch that, and let's actually have a really cool, adventure tale with the rest of everything that's about to happen.
Right. No, it's well done. Great designs, great imagery. That storm scene is one of the best in the whole series. Like, you really feel the danger and the threat, and He-Man going over the waterfall. You know he's going to be okay, but you're still like, oh, we got to get him. And then with the Gargons getting him first, I want to say it's perfection. It's not quite. There's a couple things, but I'm going to go a solid 8 out of 10. I mean, I think this one definitely earns it. It's well above average, and it's darn near perfection.
What's the things that don't make it perfect, just out of curiosity?
I can't even really... I think it's mostly just the end for me. I think it wraps up a little too quickly. Like I said, He-Man goes to the cell there with to the king, and he's like, oh, don't worry, I have a plan. And his plan is basically like, we're just going to show up in the throne room and go, boo, That's probably the biggest thing for me, is just there's not really a plan there with He-Man like he said there was. So the ending just feels a little bit rushed. Like, okay, we got to wrap this up.
Gotcha. Okay. Me being who I am about it, I'm going to do a 9 out of 10, because it definitely flies in the face of everything that I was commenting about last time.
Sure.
And I love the character designs. Like I said, they made these character designs that didn't feel like, oh, we're going to reuse model sheets or whatever. No, they made these characters so legit, their own, that I was sitting there just awed by that. The story barely ever takes a moment to even slow down, and the moments where he's understanding what's happening are still worthwhile. There's still stuff in there that I really loved. And to be honest, I really wish this could have been a standard of telling a couple more stories where he's not in Eternos and he's doing something where it doesn't even have to be starting out in the Royal Palace, and he could be doing something else. Because if they did this kind of a story now, they probably would have done it in almost like the Council of Evil episodes on 2000X. Because I'm looking at Garn and going, he's somebody I want to have back, and I've already said that. And then I started going, well, in my head, well, what, what other adventures does he have that we don't even know about, where he's going out and doing some of this stuff? And how cool would it be if he actually amassed a little group of his own that isn't even tied to the Masters, and these guys are kind of he's out and about along countrysides that aren't in Eternos, like I was saying. Sure. And these are the people that he's relying on because they're in proximity of what he's doing, and they come back and help him out from time to time or whatever. And it's showing him uniting the good people of Eternia against the evil, which is something I loved about 2000X as well. Sure. So,
It's his B Squad.
Basically, well, B Squad, or I'd even say just, I went to saying like Grace Jones and Conan the Destroyer. And Conan the Destroyer, they amassed a group of people that he had with him on that journey, and it made me start going, how cool would it have been to have this be the start of something like that for He-Man? Because then you could have had, here's this warrior woman from this place, and here's this person from this place, and having like at least 3 or 4 different guys that then he relies on in the wild, that would be really cool.
Kind of a bit like Thundercats would end up doing, like, you had the Snowman of Hookman, and you have those warrior women,
Hachiman and all that.
Hachiman, and like these guys, when the main team can't make it or he's trapped out there, there's still every corner of the planet has some guys you can call on for help,
Yeah.
I like that.
I meant, like, that was a huge thing in 2000X. I just like that they were trying to amass factions together in order to fight Skeletor. They didn't have to even go to that level, but I do like the idea these people would be out there and it'd be, well, He-Man saved me, or He-Man did this to protect my family or protect my tribe or protect my kingdom. And they would be having these people out there that he maybe they would have had 1 or 2 episodes where he would have needed their help again or whatever, and that would have been really cool. So that's why it doesn't get a 10 for me, is this is one of the few times we have this, and we don't get like a follow-up somewhere where something else happens.
If Garn had shown up in 2000X, I can guarantee you he would have made repeat appearances, because he is
that would have been great
character. Like I said, it's minor nitpicks for me, but I think an 8 out of 10 is still a solid score. So.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
We've reviewed. People have been waiting. It's been 2 weeks since our last remastering. I've gotten death threats and bombs sent to my house, so we better.
That's horrible.
It's all right. I cut the green wire. It was fine.
They always cut the green wire.
Always the green wire. All right. So, now it's time for our newest segment. Remastering Their Universe. That's right, folks. It's time for Remastering Their Universe. The new segment. I guess not so new anymore, but until we come up with another segment, it's our new segment, where we take a look at a story, a show, a book, a comic, something that didn't quite have the power when it was first released, and we try and make some changes. We read through it ourselves, watch it, whatever it needs to do, and we go, okay, how can we make this story work better? So for this week, we have the Masters of the Universe minicomic, Leech, the Master of Power Suction Unleashed.
Yes.
This was the minicomic obviously packaged with Leech and probably a few others. Amazingly, there is no credits in here. I love giving credit where credit is due, and whoever wrote and drew this obviously did not want their names attached to it.
Well, I'm going to just be that guy and say, can you blame him? I mean, no offense. Like I said before, I'm not a professional by any stretch of the imagination when it comes to comic book art or writing, but this one was one where I'm like, even as a kid, I remember hating this book.
Yeah.
But rereading it today made me go, what did I just read? Basically, it's almost like a fever dream of a Masters of the Universe comic.
Yeah, just looking through here, and I honestly, I think it was probably something more just from Mattel, because it doesn't look like any of this wave of mini-comic has credits in it. And I know a lot of them were drawn by Larry Houston, but this, I do not.
This is not Larry Houston.
I hope not. Someone should check on him if it was.
Well, if it was him, he had somebody who obviously was like some kind of cubist like Picasso deciding they're going to ink over his pencils, because Larry Houston had some very, very lovely line work, very gorgeous line work back in those days.
No, I don't think it really is Larry at all. And I'm going to start it right there, and I know we've done this before, but and honestly, it's not even necessarily get a new artist like we pulled before, but I'm going to say get these characters on model. Like, when I need to look at word balloons to figure out that that's Merman, or that's Cyclone, or even that's Leech, when it's his own mini-comic, we got a problem here. I mean, this Merman here, this is, on the first page here, that's probably one of the best drawings of him, and it looks nothing like him. Cyclone's got this weird chest, weird colors. Man-Arms has this, like, green hoodie on. It's like, what is going on here? Even the characters you can recognize, you're still sitting there going, like, okay, did they look at the toy? Like, Fisto looks like a weird Hispanic guy. I mean, it's... And not that there's anything wrong with Hispanics, it doesn't look like Fisto. It doesn't look like Moss Man. It doesn't... Robato's got a huge neck. Hordak looks weird as all get out. I mean, look at this shot here of Hordak. He looks... He looks like Rock Honor Stone Dar there, you know? So...
And on top of that, there's so many moments in this book, or in the mini-comic, where you have Leech looking like he would be bigger than like a battle ram.
Yeah.
But in reality, he's pretty much on scale with the rest of the figures. And granted, I know there could be a scaling thing where they couldn't make him as big as he wanted him to be. But I never figured him to be huge. They made him like this huge monster coming out of the swamp. I'm like, where did that come from?
Right.
What the heck is that all about? And then even at the end, you have that whole thing where Hordak decides to make himself like a Galactus-sized guy to fight the Talon fighter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where did that even come from, too? It's going against a lot of what we already know about what these characters, number one, are and can do.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, sometimes Leech is barely above Hordak, and then other times he's big enough to swallow the land shark whole.
Yeah.
And it's so what do we do here? Because I thought so is it just we need to get these guys back down to scale, or do we put something in the story to explain the growth? Because Hordak grows at the end of it too.
Mm-hmm.
So, does it need an element introduced where it's like, this is why they're big? Maybe that's why they're going after Merman. Maybe they want some sort of a crystal from him that, that could enhance them and make them bigger, kind of Rita Repulsa them, Power Rangers, and make them grow, Because that's what I think. I think of Power Rangers at the end, whenever she would make the monster grow,
Okay.
Or do we just get them back down to scale and leave them there?
I personally like the idea of them being to scale, because the other thing about this is that this is introducing this character.
Right.
Like, I even remember when I was a kid and I got my Leech figure and that book came with him. When I saw those moments where he's huge, I remember like holding the figure in my hand and going, "What's going on? What are they trying to tell me? Is he supposed to be as big as a truck, or is he supposed to be the size of the figure in my hand?" And then he matches up somewhat to the size of everybody else in the line.
Right.
And I personally, I'm not a huge fan of the idea that Hordak is growing at the end either. To me, it just seems very odd. Like the whole thing, like, okay, I'm going to turn into like King Kong to swat at the Talon Fighter at the end. And it's like, why? Why are you needing to do that? You could have, A, B, C, and D options of how to fight that thing versus needing to grow really huge and turning it into I felt like they almost put that part of the story in because the artist couldn't get these things to scale right. And they're like, well, let's just do that at the end because Lord knows he's not going to draw it right from the beginning.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that that's necessarily what they did, but there is very much this, like, why is everything so... The art is already startling enough if you've read the mini comics. Yeah. And then you get to this one, and it's just so, like, where did this come from? And things are so odd that when you go into this, it is like you're Alice in Wonderland reading this book, reading that comic in particular. Right. I keep saying book, comic. Yeah. And it doesn't help. Every little bit of this, the visuals in this does not help make this any more decipherable, in my opinion.
Okay, so we're gonna get them on model. We're gonna get them back in scale. All right. So now, and I did forget to give a little rundown. So basically, the whole mini comic is Hordak sends Leech to Eternia to capture Merman, and Man-at-Arms and Cyclone find Merman, and he's all scared. Cyclone ends up beating Leech, actually, and then Hordak gets mad at him because he didn't bring Merman back, and so he sends him back to Eternia. And the Masters throw Merman back in the ocean as bait to get Leech to come to him, and then basically He-Man's just going to destroy him with the Talon Fighter. And Hordak grows big, him and the Talon Fighter fight, and He-Man crashes the Talon... kamikazes, as they put in the book, the Talon Fighter into Hordak, and that ends up sending Hordak and Leech back to their dimension. So, I think number one is we need a reason for him to go after Merman, because there's nothing really given here other than why didn't you get Merman? Yeah. And it's like, well, why does Hordak even want Merman? Why does he need Merman? I think that's the number one problem is why are we doing this?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that whole premise, like the premise of the story doesn't even hold up when you don't even know why he's doing half of what he does. This reminds me of like when I was a kid, if I met another kid who just wanted to smash their figures together, I usually walked away and did my own thing. Because when I was a kid, my initial reaction, it was I wanted to sit down and come up with what was the story I wanted to tell using these figures that day. What was the story that was tickling my brain the most? And this is the equivalent of, you have a lot of good stories in the mini comics, and this is the one that's the equivalent of, here's a kid grabbing your favorite toys and just smashing them together, right. And you're like, why are you doing this? It's fun. They don't have a reason other than it is what it is. So I agree. There should be something that Merman has or has to find because like in the beginning 2000X, he had to find the crystal. Like having something like that where it's maybe a conduit to have Hordak bring the horde across or something. He needs whatever this power source is or whatever.
Here's what I was thinking, because it's already been established in the mini comics and like the book and stuff. Like there are various ways to get from Eternia to Etheria. In the Power of the Evil Horde book, there was that magic tree where if you pull the leaf off it would open
the leaf, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. Where there's only so many ways to get from Eternia to Etheria. And Merman, when he's talking to King Randor, mentions, the portal from Eternia's dark underworld reopens and the Horde is free once more to make Eternia its conquest. So what if there's an underwater portal? What if Hordak found a way to access Eternia, but it's underwater? And so basically he's like, okay, well, I'm going to send Leech in, because if Leech can take out Merman, then we can come into Eternia underwater, and use our fleet of submarines and everything else, and that way we can sneak in, and he won't be able to alert Skeletor or anybody else.
Mm-hmm. That's fine by me, because that's a heck of a lot better of a through line for what they're doing.
So now you got that reason. It's like, okay, now he's actually... So, it's like, Leech, you need to get Merman, get him out of the way, that way he can't raise the alarm, basically. And there's no one... I mean, think about it, the Masters don't have an underwater guy.
Nope.
And Skeletor doesn't... I mean, Clawful... But even then, we talked about this before, Clawful really doesn't get, like, the underwater, like, the role a lot of times. He's very smart and everything, but, like, Merman's his underwater guy. So Hordak's looking, if we can get Merman, we can get him out of the way, then we got free access here to Eternia whenever we want. And from there, and then basically that puts the same way. It's like, so Merman saw Leech come through. He's trying to get to shore to tell somebody, have a same thing. Have Man-Arms and Cyclone just out on, patrol or whatever. They find him. Number one, I would have all three of them fight Leech off, because I don't get why Merman's such a coward in this. But once it's all three of them, I think if they work together and beat him off and everything, and then basically you go the same way there. Merman, they take Merman in, and he's telling the king all this about what's happening, and they go out to try and see if, I'd say have them go out and try and seal this cave off. Now that we've got an entrance, that should be their mission. Let's go out and try and seal this doorway. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like here how they're like they use Merman as bait, and He-Man just like, I'm just gonna kill him. Like, I'm just gonna kill Leech. That's my plan. We're gonna start killing these Horde members one by one. Like, that's not He-Man. We just went over this. That's not He-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think, to me, the second half needs to be they're trying to seal this doorway off, and hopefully they can capture Leech at the same time if he shows up.
Yeah, and I think that's a simpler, more concise idea, because this whole book for me is they're throwing whatever at the wall, and none of it's sticking because none of it's cohesive. The one thing I would say is I like the idea, if the three of them were fighting them off like you were saying, Merman would be the one that gets affected by Leech, though. He loses his power. He's not able to, he's not able to use his abilities, which means he can't get back underwater for a little while until he gets his power back and all that, and then he can't even communicate to any of the swamp life and the animals in the water and all that stuff. And that's why when he goes to Randor, he's scared. He doesn't have any defense or whatever. I think that would be kind of cool, because I didn't why would Leech be able to suck power from Man-at-Arms? Like, that should be like a life force thing more than it's... I don't know. That's just, for me, it was a little like... the person who has a bigger ability than Man-at-Arms Cyclone or Merman should be the one affected. So then they're like, wait, my powers are gone, or what, you know.
And I still think I think he's got to actually get on there, like he did in Secret of the Sword and everything else.
That's how I always figured it too.
You have to actually get to him. So
yeah,
I agree. That makes perfect sense. If he zaps Merman even before maybe Manor and Cyclone walk up and he's already doing it, you know, and they just fight him off. He can't take power from the land shark though. It doesn't
that
work
was
that
weird.
way.
It doesn't work like that, and
it's not the kind of power he sucks.
No, he should be. He's. I guess it would be like vampire, where he takes the power or energy of, like the life force of somebody, like Secret of the Sword, or he takes their powers away, you know, or whatever. Which that or maybe it could be a skill set of, okay, in Cyclone's case, he has his powers, which makes him juicier. As something for him to feed on, versus Bo, you know, he has skills versus powers.
Okay, let's talk about that a second here then. So what exactly is Leech's power set? I mean, to me it's always been like basically he drains you, but I've never really thought about where that power goes. So does that make Leech stronger the more people he drains? Like, well, obviously this is going to be in my head because I just watched Superman Man of Tomorrow. But
Parasite.
Is it like Parasite where he actually grows stronger when he sucks the power from other people? I never thought it was, honestly. I thought it was more just like he takes it away from them, but not necessarily that it makes him any stronger.
I kind of view it just as the equivalent of food, you know, like him sucking the life essence from someone like Teela or Man at Arms or, you know, someone along those lines. It's just like that's almost like a snack. But then if he grabs somebody like Cyclone or you know, He-Man or someone like that to him is like Thanksgiving dinner. You know, like it's like a gourmet meal because there's more power involved with those characters. But like that was the one thing that I don't think they need is to have Leech adapting those powers and becoming that guy. I think he's just the guy that he will take away their will to live because he's taking their life essence or their power from them, and that makes them more susceptible to Hordak then and the Horde. It's like, you know, it is that way with him where he's not going to get their powers, but he's going to just be loaded and filled as like a food source. And that makes him a little creepier, in my opinion. Just like a leech would want to feed off you and drink your blood and all that.
I agree completely with that. I just want to make sure we were on the same page here.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Okay. Yeah, because I don't like the idea of...
He'll never be as strong as He-Man. Like, he's only got a max still. Even if he feasts on He-Man, he still can't get above his power level to me. You know, he's
exactly.
Still... Like, he'll be refreshed and energized and 100% for him, but it's not like, okay, all of a sudden he's got super strength and X-ray vision and, you know, this and that.
Yeah, he wouldn't be that
He can't start
guy.
Cyclone powers just because he sucks Cyclone's powers.
No, but I think that's what makes him a good one of the like lieutenants in the Horde. I guess is what he would be. The fact that, you know, he can go into battle and all he's doing is he's weakening the opponents so that the Horde can just cut a swath through.
Oh, exactly.
Their forces, you know, and all that. So that's why Hordak would want him on his side.
I told you before, it fits right into what I feel the power set of the Horde is. Because they're always about taking energy, taking the will to live.
Yeah.
You know, they drain their victims and they conquer. Leech is a prime example of that. And that's why it makes no sense here where the only thing we really see him suck the power from is the land shark. You know, this is what he should be doing here in this back half of the story. Like, they're trying to get to this gate and Leech is just like, nope. And just like all these warriors, because he brings all these people with him, Mossman, Fisto, Merman, Roboto, and and actually I could see Roboto being the key to this, because I don't think he can take electronic power like that. I think he's more like, sucking your life force, your will to live. So I could see him like he's already got Merman down. I could see him taking out Mossman and Fisto, and He-Man's still trying to get through. And, even go that way. And so that's why He-Man gets in the Talon Fighter, because, I can't get close enough to this guy to do anything to him, or else I'm going to go down just like my comrades already did. So so that's why he's got to get into the Talon Fighter and fight that way,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing that I want to switch out completely is the Hordak bit.
Okay.
And I don't want to switch him out completely, but what I want to do instead is have it that Hordak is in on Eternia, he's in Etheria, and he projects himself using clouds or a spirit version of himself, which is why he'd be huge. He'd be this huge spectral force in the sky, and he's using magic to go up against them so that they can't stop the portal from being closed.
Sure.
So it's like Leech is doing his thing, and then once it gets to a certain point where you have even Skeletor is aware that crap is going down, and he's going into the whole thing, figuring out what's happening. I just like the idea. Hordak would keep an eye on it and go, I have to have Leech's back, and he astrally projects himself into the clouds or something, and you see the cloud face of Hordak, the red eyes, and he'd have these clawed hands coming down trying to attack them.
Sure.
And that's where He-Man would be going up in the Talon Fighter. He would be there to do the stuff like you're saying with Leech, but then that's when the Talon Fighter would get hit and they'd go, oh crap, here's Hordak represented, and now he's coming down to us as well. And that could be kind of cool.
And that's it, because He-Man gets into the Talon Fighter, so now Leech can't suck his life force out. So now Hordak's like, okay, I gotta step in, or He-Man's gonna get this gate closed, and then my whole plan's just out the window. So exactly. Have him take out the Talon Fighter, or take on the Talon Fighter, and so then they're doing their battle. Meanwhile, have Skeletor show up now, and he's like, I don't know what's going on, but Hordak's here, and Merman's in the middle of this, and and even have him go try and get Merman, what is going on here? And inadvertently, he provides a distraction then for Roboto to get past and get to the gate. Because I think this should be a Roboto gambit, if you will, to get in there and actually take down the gate. He-Man's busy with Hordak, Skeletor ends up distracting Leech, and then Roboto, as the only warrior who can get past Leech's powers without being affected, he managed to go by. You could even do it too, like you said. Okay, so if Merman's a little treat, then a Skeletor or He-Man, that's like a gourmet meal. And Leech is just so happy and so focused on Skeletor. Have him get Skeletor. Have him start draining him and be like, oh yeah, and then that allows Roboto to get in and set some explosives and blow up the gate. Yeah. And at that point, I don't even see why you have to crash the Talon Fighter. At that point, Hordak just sees he's lost, and he's like, all right, I'm out of here, and go from there. I don't get this whole kamikaze thing that the destroying the Talon Fighter,
Yeah, I think it would be more of a maybe Hordak gets the Talon Fighter while they're fighting, while He-Man's up there trying to distract him and everything. And when the gate is closed, he evaporates from the sky because the link is severed.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, the Talon Fighter has maybe a crappy landing. It's salvageable, but they're gonna have to fix it or whatever. But it's not this kamikaze run like you're talking. And like you said, you don't like either, which I agree. So
no, it's not him. No, I'm good with that. No. If Hordak takes it down, he shoots it with some of these lightning bolts. It crashes, and then you got He-Man okay, this is it. It's you and me, and this giant Hordak in the sky just ready to take him on. And then at that moment, Roboto hits the explosives and that gate closes and he just disappears. You know, that's great. You know, and then Leech, of course, once he sees that he's got, you know, by that point you can have Roboto still there, obviously. He-Man comes down, and then have Mossman and Fisto be getting back on their feet at that point. He's like, yep, I'm not going to fight all of you. I'm out of here. You know, and just, I mean, that's all you need, right? Like, this is, it's just a mini comic.
Well, yeah, and I'm adding something that might make it a little more convoluted, but I don't care. I'm going to throw it out there.
Throw it.
What if when Leech touches someone, it has to be skin to skin? Because the thing that I'm thinking of
I think
is
so.
He goes for Skeletor, but he does like Secret of the Sword, where he tries to put his suction cups on Skeletor's head. Skeletor turns around. He's like, it doesn't work like that, fool! And he shoots him with the Havoc Staff, and that's what shoots him through the portal to get him out off Eternia. Then they blow the thing up, and then Hordak evaporates. And I like the idea that because it's his skull and not skin, Leech couldn't even do it, but he was distracted enough by Skeletor or something. So, that's just me.
Okay. I like where you're going, but since it is a mini comic, and I don't think it has to be that convoluted. I think because you can just say that Skeletor's strong enough to, in that moment, as he's getting his strength drained, for him to reach out and grab the Havoc Staff. You know, have him roll up on the Land Shark like before.
Yeah, that would work too.
Have Leech knock him out of the Land Shark. He loses the Havoc Staff. And then Leech just starts going to town on him. And Skeletor is, you know, with all the force in his body, is making that Havoc Staff come to him. And once he sees Roboto go over behind Leech, and once he sees that Roboto's ready, he's like, you know, not today, fool, and he, you know, have him still get drained. Because I think the skull's a good enough conduit. You know what I mean?
I still like the skin to skin thing, but like I said, it's convoluted enough that I'm gonna give it to you on that one. If it wasn't a mini comic, I would say go with it. But remember, these things got to be like boom, boom, boom. Yeah,
you know.
If it was a cartoon, though, that's where I would.
Then we could explain that better, especially for the kids. And that's one of the things we want to do here with remastering, folks. We want to keep it in the spirit of what, you know, it originally was. So, but I think that's enough. Just have Skeletor just summon enough strength just to blast him back. And then that gives you the reason why Skeletor doesn't fight. He's like, you know, okay, you know, another day, you Eternian fools. And he just hops on the Land Shark with Merman, and they're just like, we're out of here. You know.
Well, you know, it would be kind of fun if they had the cartoon version of this. This is what I'd want to see at the end. Have it be like, you know, He-Man gets out of the wreckage of the Talon Fighter, and all the heroes are there, and they look over and they're like, Skeletor was the one to help, and He-Man be like, Skeletor, and then you have Skeletor riding away in the Land Shark. Don't come on that again, you fool! You know.
I think that could work even here, like that, and that's what it needs. It needs that wrap up here at the end too. It needs something. I mean, and I like that, and it. I think it streamlines it, it simplifies it, it gives a reason for it, and the end battle that we just came up with, I think, is a lot better than anything you see here. It's in character, and it makes sense. So, I'm going to say remastered.
I will too, because I actually understood that one.
Yes.
Versus what I read, I don't know what the heck I read in that.
And I'd love
like a Rorschach test.
I would love to see the behind the scenes on this, because it's like there's so much in here that contradicts other stuff. Like earlier when Merman was talking to King Randor, he's saying like that Skeletor is going to join the Horde. And as we know, that's nothing that would ever happen. Like Skeletor hates the Horde. He's been a part of the Horde, you know. And even in the mini comic collection, this wasn't the first appearance of the Horde. So, but it's written like it is. It's very odd. It's very odd, and I don't know if it was there was like 3 different versions where they ended up like, oh, we'll do the first part of this script and the second part of this script and the third part of this script, and
Yeah.
that on top of the off-model characters and everything else, it's baffling. But
To say the least, yeah.
but I think we did all right by it. I think we remastered that bad boy.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm definitely good on that one.
I gotta say, the mini comic was actually a little harder than I thought it would be. Because you've got that limited space, you've got the simplified storyline. That one took me a little bit more than I thought it would have. Sitting down there going, okay, how do we do this? You know?
Well, the story in general made me think that too. So, I keep on making that comment, but I don't think there's been many mini comics where I've read them and I don't understand from beginning to end what the hell the point of it was.
Yeah.
And, like us doing our thing, it's like anybody could do this one and it probably will only go up from there. Yeah. I think what we did was fine, because that end battle would have been one where I would have probably gone back to it now after seeing that when I was a kid, going, yeah, but Hordak turned into clouds and started attacking the Talonflame. That was amazing.
Yeah, just give it a nice action scene at the end. Keep it simple, especially with mini comics. Keep it simple,
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, we got anything to throw ourselves out with here?
Without any new craziness, new news or anything. I don't really. I know you were saying, we're going to be doing some fun stuff in September. I don't know how much you're going to talk, since this is our final one before September.
This is. So we have an all-star September lined up, and I won't go into too many details now, but we got some fun stuff coming up here all September long. We're going to have some great guests with us. A little bit of fun that will culminate at the end of the month, and some nice surprises along the way. So make sure you're all subscribed up. Go ahead and click that little like down there. Subscribe so you're up to date here, because we got some stuff rolling out this month. It's going to be a blast.
Credit where credit's due. Matt has been busting his butt to do what we're going to be doing in September. So, yeah, he's the mastermind behind it all. That's how it works.
It's going to come together. We got a couple more pieces nailed down, but it's all going to come down together. So, go ahead and leave us a comment down below. Comment on Podbean. Comment on iTunes. Anywhere and everywhere. Hit the stars, the hearts, the likes, all that, guys. Come on, help us out here. And join our Facebook page. I know I've been a little lax on posting lately, but, I'll get back to it. It's been a crazy couple weeks so far. But September's going to be amazing. We got an all-star September lined up. So make sure you tune in. And until next time.
Until